The following program does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the staff, management, or ownership of this station.
The following pre-recorded program is brought to you by Vitruvian, a Texas-based registered investment advisor.
Now, let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Hello, hello, hello once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You're listening to the Angela Box Show. I'm Angela Box. Guys, today on the show, we're going to be having a fabulous guest, and I mean fabulous. His name is Justin Folk. He is the producer-director of the new Matt Walsh movie, Am I Racist? And those of you who know a little bit about me know that I lived in Hollywood for 14 years, did the acting thing, most of that time, or tried to, whatever. And I was, you'll hear the interview with Justin. Hollywood is awful, okay? I really, really hated the industry. Like, I hated it, just like I hated the teaching industry. Like, it was funny because, I was a teacher in a former life, actress in a former life, and I really hated both those industries because they're also poisoned by leftism. And when you are a conservative in these industries or, just a common sense person, your views are really, shunted to the back of the line, to the back of the bus, for lack of a better term. And I was so happy to escape L.A. when I came to Houston in 2009. But it's cool to, talk about that stuff and to realize that Hollywood seems to be inching out of the closet, if you will, because Hollywood has gotten so crazy, so left, all CGI, all superhero movies, just schlock, crap, that nobody is watching and nobody cares. And, for example, there's a new Disney Plus show that's getting ready to be released. I mean, I guess they didn't, The Acolyte, which was totally woke, some stupid Star Wars series. It's like, this witches movies, like Hold My Beer. We're going to make something that's even more crap and even more stupid and even more offensive to families and children. They're putting this on Disney Plus, and it's essentially like the gayest thing Marvel has ever done. The stars are like, yeah, it's super queer. It's like, it's totally normalized. Like, it's just going to be like amazing. It's like, all right, guys, keep it up. And so it's cool to see movies like Am I Racist? What is a Woman? And No Safe Spaces, which Justin Folk produced, directed, all of that. Because Hollywood it needs a comeuppance. They really need a kick in the pants. And I swear to you, if anything is like excessive CGI or a touch of woke, there's so much out now that I recommend to everybody, just go on IMDb, look up the reviews, and you can filter out anything that's like we filter out like 7 and above, sometimes 8 and above. And if anything's like below 8 or certainly below a 7, if it's like a 7, I'll go in and read the reviews. And if there's any reviews that to say it's like, this is woke, this is this, and we're like, no, there's so much to watch that you don't have to be programmed by these psychopaths. You can watch old shows, or you can, again, filter out the garbage. So over in a couple weeks, 1070, this station, Salem Station, 1070 The Answer, is going to be the media partner with Citizens Defending Freedom at the Stand Up for Freedom Gala. I will be there. Justin Folk is headlining. We're going to have Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. And then we're going to have also former Democrat rep, now Republican, Sean Theory, who was booted from her spot. And I cannot wait to talk to her because I want to hear stories. Because Sean Theory, I mentioned this, I think maybe it was the last week's show. She sided with the Republicans in the State House of Texas against the gender modification bill, which basically every single Democrat voted against, and except for a couple, and Sean Theory was one of them. And she got a primary challenger, and who was far, far to the left of this woman on cultural issues. And she lost her race. So she's like, you know what? Bye, Democrat Party. We're all done here. You don't believe in objective reality. You don't believe in parental rights. You want to put porn in front of kids. You want to chop off their genitals. You believe that man can control the weather. You believe all the stuff that the alchemists in the Middle Ages believed, essentially. Alchemists in the Middle Ages, for those of you who do not know this reference, alchemists were, quote, the scientists, quote, the experts who believed that you could turn human feces into gold, okay? So that is what we're dealing with, a level of insanity that is taking a long time to break this fever. But I do think the fever is breaking, ladies and gentlemen, because there's only so much non-objective reality that we can take. Now, every week on this show, I dedicate a sea turtle killing plastic straw to filthy leftists or rhinos who richly deserve it. And this week, I mean, there's so many people we can go with, but, you know, this whole second assassination attempt is so super suspicious, super sus, as the kids say. And I got to give it to the Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, CNN, who just so happened to be there filming. And let's get into why this is like something in the milk that is so not clean here. So last weekend, Trump got shot at again. And at first the media is like trying to downplay it and like, oh, shots were fired at Trump's golf course, but he's okay. It's like, no. It was another assassination attempt, and this one is even more suspicious than the last. Now, we know that the Thomas Crooks guy who murdered Corey Competore, who injured several people critically, and you know, Trump within a millimeter almost lost his life in Butler, PA, just in July. And, you know, the FBI, the Secret Service, you know, the people pointing to the roof for 10 minutes before the whole thing went down, the FBI sweeping the crime scene away before any evidence could really be collected, the guy's body being cremated, no one interviewing the parents. Like, they're just like, okay, moving along, nothing to see here. Well, guess what, guys? The same thing happened last weekend. So this literal lunatic who they're trying, at first it's so cute. The media is so cute. They're like, oh my God, he's a registered Republican. It's like, try harder, please. Like, save it for people who actually believe you. Thank you, Elon Musk. I will continue to say it. Thank you, Elon Musk, for buying Twitter, turning it into X, because without that, we would not know any of this stuff. It would have all been censored. So this Ryan Routh guy just so happens, a guy who's supposedly, he's unemployed, but he has all this money and all these resources to, like, fly to Ukraine a bunch of times, try to recruit people to fight in Ukraine against Russia, which is weird. And he also lives in Hawaii. He's got the money to live in Hawaii part-time. And he's got this arsenal of weaponry. And the guy has been interviewed on CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, all the usual suspects. Like, they just so happen to find this guy. So here's something that Cat Turd asked. Cat Turd's a great account on X if you're not following. How does someone, I'm paraphrasing here, how does someone who's from North Carolina and lives in Hawaii know where to be in Florida at the exact location, at the exact golf course where Trump made a last-minute decision to play golf? And how did CNN go and get video of Trump doing that? Just like they did at the rally. They never go to his rallies. They never videotape his rallies, but they just happen to be there that day. Something the milk ain't clean. All right, Justin Folk coming up. When we get back from the interview, we're going to pick this up. You're listening to the Angela Buck Show. Be right back.
Hey, fellow patriots and filthy leftist stalkers. It's Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
All right, welcome back to the Angela Box Show. I am super, super psyched, you guys, for real, to talk to this guy. And you will be excited to hear what he has to say. On the line, we have the producer and director of the new movie, Am I Racist?, Justin Folk. He also worked with Matt Walsh on What is a Woman, and with my old boss, Adam Carolla, from The Man Show on No Safe Spaces. So welcome to the Angela Buck Show, Justin.
Thank you, Angela. Appreciate you having me.
I'm so excited. Okay. And you're coming into town. Before we get into the movie, I want to give everyone a heads up on, you're going to be in Houston for the Citizens Defending Freedom gala in Harris County, and 1070 is actually the media partner for this. So I'm really excited to have you in town. And if you guys just Google Citizens Defending Freedom Justin Folk, should take you to the event. But I'll give the whole plug at the end there. But let's talk about the new movie, Am I Racist? Because I think this is chef's kiss.
Sounds good. Always happy to talk about our movie. We've been working on it for a couple years now. We're thrilled that it's out there in the public and doing its thing, getting a lot of attention. We were the number 3 movie in the country last week and last weekend, and we've done very, very well at the box office. We're already the top documentary of the year, and so it's exciting to do this work and to have people see it. We made a very funny film about a very serious topic, and so we're really hoping that a lot of people get out to the theaters and watch this movie in the theaters. Laughter is contagious, and it's a much better movie if you watch it with other people.
Absolutely, and you know your history as a filmmaker in Hollywood. You and I lived in LA around the same time, never crossed paths, but you know I hated the industry. All actors do. Let me tell you, and you'll co-sign this. All it is, you go to acting class. It's an hour, 2 hours a week, and it's like a circle jerk for 2 hours. Like, oh my God, you're amazing.
Yeah.
No, you're amazing. The egos, the competition, you have to be quiet. And I remember when I lived in LA, it was around the time of the Clinton impeachment. And the theater company I belonged to, they just went all out on, you know, how awful it was. And I remember I had to leave the room when James Cromwell came in to talk to our group, like, oh, Clinton's a martyr and this and that. How was it like when you were there? And how much did you have to, like, self-censor yourself?
Well, what you just described is exactly right. It's sort of an industry that sort of eats itself. I think you're describing, you know, the one part of it, which is what you experienced with the acting classes. You have a bunch of people that go out there and sort of become grifters, and you know, people that kind of never make it in acting, and then they become an acting coach, and then they get everybody together and they make money off of that. It's a kind of a depressing place. But even more depressing is that you have to follow this ideology, this leftist ideology, and if you don't, then you know you're in grave danger of not getting a job or not getting your if you're a writer, not getting your script read. If you work in any other part of the industry, if you're an entertainment lawyer or a sound person or a camera person, you have a real risk of not getting phone calls and not getting hired if people know that you think differently than the rest of the industry. And so there's really no room for any dissenting ideas or even just free thoughts. And the irony there is these people really don't even know what they're talking about. They live in such a bubble, and they're the ones that are responsible for providing the entertainment to the rest of America. And they have no idea, they have no clue what the rest of Americans think or how they feel about things. And so that's why we find ourselves in the situation that we're in, with Hollywood churning out all these horrible pieces of content that the Americans are, you know, looking at, and they're just like, what is this? And why would I want to watch this? And so hopefully we find ourselves, we're trying to fill that void. We're trying to step into that void for regular, everyday Americans, and to make content that they would actually want to show and want to show their kids, and actually promote the ideas of America and freedom and the things that make this country great.
Yeah, and I love it because you're skewering the left. And I think for so long conservatives, it's just, you know, schlock, Hallmark movies, you know, God, it's like, oy vey, like slip my wrist. And I'm really excited that you and Matt are kind of just sticking it to these people and showing Hollywood how it can be done. I'm curious, when you lived in LA, were you a friend of Abe? This was a networking group of conservatives, and that went out when Trump came in because they hated Trump. But did you know about that group? Were you involved in it?
Oh yeah, I was part of Friends of Abe, the secret society. Yeah. And by the way, I'll correct you there. They didn't hate Trump. In fact, Trump came and did a speech in one of the events. So Trump was there.
Oh.
That's the first time I got to see Trump in person, was when he came and visited Friends of Abe. And, you know, I know I can talk about the group now, but when it existed, it was a sort of a secret fellowship of conservatives that worked in Hollywood. and we'd get together and sort of, it was almost like a therapy session in some ways. And it was started by Gary Sinise, who is a legend.
A legend.
And,
Steppenwolf Theater. Amazing.
Yeah, Gary Sinise and John Boyd and Kelsey Grammer, Patricia Heaton, and a number of others. And it just provided I hate to say it, but kind of a safe space for conservatives out there. Like, not that we needed a safe space, but just a good place that we could go and speak our minds and hang out with each other and network. And I'll be honest, like some of the relationships that I formed during that time with those people are still relationships that I have today in doing this work. And so it was a fun time, and it was a time when we really had to keep our heads down, but we sort of found each other and got to network and went on to, bigger things.
Yeah, I wish I would have known you guys back then. I mean, it literally, it's like a speakeasy. It's like you have to know the secret code and all that stuff. Okay, let's talk about the movie, because Am I Racist is the follow-up to What is a Woman, which, set their hair on fire a couple of years ago. So what's the premise of Am I Racist?
Am I Racist is a movie where Matt Walsh basically becomes a certified DEI expert. And so we really wanted to show what the world of DEI looked like. And by doing that, we wanted to examine it from within. And so in the movie, Matt is questioning his own whether or not he's racist. We're always being told, especially Matt as a white person, that you are inherently racist, you have bias, and there's nothing you can do about it. So he decides to go on a journey and look into this. And in the process, he becomes certified as a DEI expert, which is kind of funny. It's kind of the joke, is like what you need to do to become certified. And he hears from all these DEI experts along the way. And so we really reveal what they think and what they're saying about America. And it's very disturbing. And he takes all that he learns and he hosts his own workshop. He puts these ideas into practice to see what they'll look like. And so you can kind of take things to there. You take this philosophy, this destructive DEI philosophy, to its logical conclusions, and we show what those are. And it's not good. And so along the way, also, we talk to some regular people in the movie. We talk to some common sense regular people, both white, both black, and they seem to say the same thing, which is race isn't something that we should obsess over.
Right.
And it's a huge contrast to the experts that we talk to in the story, which basically are making money and accruing power by opening up racial wounds in our country and dividing us as Americans. And so, the movie itself takes a hard look at all this. It's a very funny movie, like I said. Matt is downright hilarious in these real situations with these grifters. And Matt got in the room with one of the preeminent DEI experts, Robin DiAngelo, and that is a scene that you will not want to miss, basically what he gets her to do. And so, it's an inside, very, very funny look at the world of DEI.
Yeah, I mean, they're grifters, just like Black Lives Matter, aka BM. I mean, it is funny to watch how it's like, their time is running short, I think. So hopefully they've invested their money that they've grifted off of people. But I'm just curious, was there any land acknowledgement at any time in the movie? Because that would have been funny.
Well, we actually start the movie with a land acknowledgement. Matt actually starts the movie off with a land acknowledgement. Matt goes onto a TV show, an actual TV show, called Good Things Utah, and it's their morning kind of show on culture. And he sits down with the host, and he takes them through a land acknowledgement, and it's absolutely hilarious. And it's on live TV, and it's actually how we start the movie. With a land acknowledgement.
That is so genius. I'm going to make my fiance go this weekend with me before we meet you next week at our at the event. So let's talk a little bit about, you're coming to Houston. You're going to be the keynote speaker for Citizens Defending Freedom on September 28th. And if people want to get tickets are on sale right now. And I'm going to give you the whole unwieldy thing, but just life hack. Just Google it and say CDF Justin Folk. But it is cdf.events/HA Justin Folk, FOLK. or you can contact my friend Courtney Daniel at ccdaniel@ccdfusa.com. So when you come to Houston, I cannot wait to talk to you. But what do you feel like is we got like a minute left. Do you feel like the fever is breaking? Do you feel like people are getting more emboldened to say, yeah, we're all done with here with these psychos?
I do. I think we are starting to say no to this stuff and push back and give people the courage to say, no, I'm not going to go along with this anymore. The left has taken advantage for a very long time. They've been taking advantage of people that want to be polite, people that don't want to be mean, people that want to get along with each other, and they've totally taken advantage of us and forced these bad ideas on us. And it's time as Americans to stand up and say no more. And our movie, I think, our goal with this movie is to give people courage to say, I don't go along with this anymore. And so that's why we, set out to kind of ridicule these bad ideas, because we want to make them toxic. And we want people to be able to say, no, I'm not going to support these ideas anymore. They're divisive. They're tearing us apart as Americans, and we need to move on. And so that's really our hope for the movie, is that people will watch it, they'll laugh, they'll be entertained, first of all, but also we'll give them courage to point to the film and to point to these bad ideas and say no more.
Yeah,
so I think that the name of the event is Stand Up for Freedom, I think, right?
Yes, Stand Up for Freedom.
Citizens Defending Freedom. Yeah, so I've Googled that.
Yeah, Google Stand Up for Freedom, Justin Folk, and your X account is @Justin Folk, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, the movie is Am I Racist? Go to amiRacist.com to get tickets. It's going to be fantastic to meet you. I'm really excited. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. Looking forward to meeting you next week. You're listening to The Angela Buck Show. We will be right back.
Infuriating the far left, Democrats, socialists, and communists. It's Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Okay, so for, a day or so, they kept trying to say, oh, Ryan Ralph, he's a Republican. Like, okay. The guy has a Biden-Harris sticker on his truck. They found it. They were like, hey, got the receipts. He has a Biden-Harris sticker on his truck. He wrote a book, an ebook, that he published or whatever on Amazon. And in this ebook, he actually encouraged Iran to assassinate Trump. And as I mentioned in the first segment, we've got CNN that just so happened to be filming Trump at the golf course. Like, first of all, who tipped them off where Trump was going to be? Because it was not on his official schedule. So someone either, and I don't want to think it's in the Trump campaign, it's probably Secret Service, DHS, like someone is tipping off the media. Someone is trying to get this done because Trump has all of their numbers. And I like how Trump is just like kind of standing back now and just like, this is just all unfolding in crazy ways right now. And unless you've got your head completely up your butt, like there's no way you can avoid seeing what's really happening here. So as I mentioned, Shadow of Ezra, another great X account, he said this: what are the chances that CBS News, the New York Times, Semaphore, whoever that is, Newsweek, and several other media outlets, all known for their disdain of Donald Trump, were in contact with Trump's attempted assassin, Ryan Ralph? So in 2023, March 2023, he was featured in the New York Times in his efforts to recruit fighters for Ukraine. And CBS News even admits to texting frequently with him for over a year during the early stages of the war. Semaphore interviewed him about recruiting Afghan mercenaries for Ukraine. And Newsweek spoke with him in 2022 regarding his pro-Ukraine stance. Like, what? Like, come on. Also, just like Thomas Crooks was featured in a BlackRock video, they've tried to memory hole this and say that, oh, BlackRock didn't have anything to do with this. BlackRock produced a video that Ryan Ralph was in shilling for Ukraine. Okay? So obviously it is an all hands on deck attempt by the deep state to get rid of Trump. Like, they're not going to let him back in. So we know that a lot of this, well, I'm sorry, not a lot, all of it is divine intervention here. because we've got not one but two now assassination attempts. Now, granted, the assassination attempt at his golf course last week was less of a close call than the Butler, PA one, but it was an assassination attempt nonetheless. Also, there's reports now that this Ryan Ralph guy was like in the bushes for 13 hours. Like the New York Times says it like with just straight face. Oh, Ryan Ralph sat in the bushes for 13 hours at Trump's golf course thinking he might show up. Oh, really? How did they know? How did this guy know that Trump was going to be at his golf course? Oh, well, it's very well known that Trump likes to golf on Sunday, so they're trying to do that old song and dance. They're just like, oh, he just so happened to be there, just like all the people pointing up at the roof, yelling at the Secret Service, letting the Secret Service know that there's a guy on a roof getting ready to take a shot at Trump. We're just, nothing to see here, move along. Like, save it, spare me, okay? So another really suspicious thing that's happening this week, and I have to move on to another topic, otherwise we're just going to stay on this the whole time. And guys, it's been a very, very, very busy week. It's days like this that I miss my daily show, because honestly, it's a lot to cram into 1 hour. So the former, listen to this before I jump on to the ABC stuff and the debate. Alexander Vindman's wife. Now, Alexander Vindman, of course, is the scumbag, the lieutenant admiral, general colonel, whatever he is, the one that lied through his teeth to Adam Schiff and other Democrats and said that Trump was on the phone. He's the whistleblower. That was just a liar, but leftists don't care because he's one of them. Alexander Vindman, of course, famously went to Adam Schiff and other Democrats, and he was like, hey, Donald Trump is on the phone with Zelensky when Zelensky got into power, and he's basically threatening Zelensky and promising a quid pro quo if Zelensky goes after Joe Biden. It's like, well, that didn't happen like that, and you're lying. But again, leftists don't care. He wrote some stupid book, and every leftist in Hollywood fluffed him and tried to make him think that, he was a hero for taking down Donald Trump. Well, Trump's like, you know what? I'll release those transcripts. I will release the transcripts to prove what a liar Alexander Vindman is and what a liar Adam Schiff is. And of course, when the transcripts of that phone call with Zelensky was released, it showed that Donald Trump basically said, hey, I know that you're a reformer. Hilarious that we thought Zelensky was a reformer at first. And on a side note on that, I think Zelensky got into power and he campaigned on being a reformer and an outsider, but then he got in there and he saw how much money there was to be made from all of these people who have basically used Ukraine as a money laundering operation for many, many years and decades. And he's like, I'm going to get in on that. So Trump at the beginning of Zelensky's term said, hey, you're a reformer. Here's some evidence that we've got with Joe Biden on tape, on videotape, saying to the UN or wherever he was that, hey, Poroshenko, you need to fire the prosecutor that's in charge of looking into my son's shady business deals. Of course, he didn't say that. He said, Poroshenko, you better fire this prosecutor, or we're going to not give you $1 billion from the Obama administration. And he's bragging about it, as anyone with two brain cells to rub together knows that. So obviously Obama knew what Joe Biden was up to, grifting, money laundering, etc. So all Trump said was, hey, can you maybe look into this? Because this is really troubling. And he knew that Joe Biden was going to be the Democrat nominee. He knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was out there, which, again, they lied about and said was Russian disinformation. When from 2019 on, they knew it was real. They knew the whole thing was real. And so Trump was just saying, hey, could you look into this? So Vindman lied his face off. So this is a long way of getting to his wife, who is also guaranteed these people are up to their necks in this Ryan Ralph thing. All right? I don't have receipts for it, but I think as time goes on, we're going to see. Now, look, the first assassination attempt, they were able to get the kill shot on Thomas Crooks. I'm sure Thomas Crooks was promised he was going to be a hero and that nothing would happen to him, and he'd be okay. He'd be able to get away. But Ryan Routh was not killed. Now, we're going to talk about the Puff Daddy stuff in probably the last segment. Hopefully we can get to everything today. But basically, I think Ryan Routh, we're going to have to do an over-under on when he's going to get Epstein, too. Because what's amazing to me is that this guy's still alive. And DeSantis, governor of Florida, Ryan Routh made the mistake of working with his deep state handlers, because he's got overseas encrypted accounts, too, just like Thomas Crooks did. Working with his handlers to do it in Florida. Because DeSantis, based Ron DeSantis, ain't going to allow the FBI just to take this over and whitewash it like they're doing with the Thomas Crooks thing. He's like, hey, we are going to get to the bottom of this in Florida. We're going to run joint investigations here. We're going to see what comes out in the wash. But anyway, Alexander Vindman's wife. So, she basically mocked the second attempted assassination of Trump. And basically, I can't remember what she said because she deleted the tweet. But basically, she was like totally mocking the fact that the guy missed or whatever. And this is Sean Davis's take on this. Sean Davis is the founder of the Federalist, another great website to go to if you're not following. It sure would be nice to know whether the would-be assassin, who was a deranged Ukraine partisan, ever interacted with any of the Vindmans, all of whom were heavily involved in the 2019 coup against Trump. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting to find out if there's any connection there. Now, before we get to the last segment, I want to touch on this curiouser and curiouser stuff that's going on with the ABC debate last week. Now, of course, if you're just listening to mainstream media, you haven't heard anything about this. If you're on X, however, you know that last week there were rumblings. Now, all of us who watched the debate were like, how did this heifer, who cannot string two sentences together, ever, without sounding drunk or word salading everything, how did they war game? It's one of two things. Either the Kamala Harris camp war gamed every single potential question, and then she magically was able to memorize all of her canned responses, because every time she veered off her canned responses, she started word salading it. Like we saw that with everyone saw it. Or they gave her the questions, and or she had an earpiece. Now, all of it, we were called conspiracy theorists, of course, and it's like conspiracy theorists 30, the rest of you losers 0 at this point. So, towards the end of last week, there were rumblings that ABC had a whistleblower, and that the whistleblower was going to say, essentially, this was completely rigged. She got, quote, sample questions. They didn't, and ABC's response to this was just, they threaded the needle real good. They basically said, we did not give anybody any questions. Well, what they did was they gave her sample questions, and they were essentially the same questions. Sample questions were given to her. She got a shorter podium to make herself look more presidential compared to Trump, because she's like, 5'2". That they basically told her that she would not be fact checked, but Donald Trump would be. Like all these things that this whistleblower is letting us know that turned out was true. When we get back, we're going to talk about that and Puff Daddy. You're listening to the Angela Box Show. We'll be right back.
Standing up for what's right. This is the Angela Box Show on the Big 1070. The Answer.
So if we had an honest media, this story would be everywhere. This story would take down ABC News. This story is bigger than Watergate. It is bigger. I mean, look, it's like Hillary Clinton now telling people that people should be criminally charged for posting, quote, misinformation. It's like, you first, lady. I mean, this is the level of clown world, bizarro world we're living in now. Because last week everyone was like, hey, if this whistleblower story is true, and there is an affidavit that is an ABC employee of 10 years, like this is going to bring down ABC News. And have you heard anything this week, ladies and gentlemen? No, crickets. The only place you're seeing it is on X. The only place you're seeing it is in conservative outlets like Breitbart, Gateway Pundit, Revolver News. Just like when I was on Fox 26 last week after the debate, talking about the stuff about January 6th, that those of us paying attention know that, with the pipe bomb, and Kamala Harris was not at the Capitol building, she was at the DNC headquarters, and they were like, oh, that's crazy. I'm like, wow, there's really a divide here in information. It's like, those of us on the right, we know what the left thinks. We know their stories. We know their talking points. We know, we know all the stuff. Those people on the left, as Justin Folk was saying, are in such a bubble. They have no idea what we actually believe or what's really going on. So, Mark Penn, who is a former Clinton advisor, and I think he might have been a pollster, I'm not 100% sure on that, but Mark Penn came out last week and he was like, yeah, the affidavit's coming out over the weekend. And we were waiting. And then over the weekend, so coincidentally, on the same day the affidavit dropped from the ABC whistleblower, there was another assassination attempt on Trump. I mean, it's like, come on, people. Do more, do less, I guess I should say. They are throwing everything they could possibly throw at Donald Trump. And he's just pew, 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 like a superhero, bouncing it off his chest. All these bullets they're trying to figuratively and literally shoot at him. And if you don't see the hand of God in this at this point, I don't know what to tell you. Seriously. Something is going on here. So anyway, the affidavit dropped over the weekend, and I'm going to summarize it. Another great account on X to follow is Black Insurrectionist. He's really good, you guys. He broke this down great. And essentially the affidavit said, my name is blank, and I reside blank in New York. I have worked at ABC for over 10 years in various technical and administrative positions. Since the acquisition of ABC News in 96, I have observed significant transformations in the nature of news reporting at the organization. These changes suggest a shift from unbiased reporting to a model influenced by external factors. Now, this is where it gets good. He or she is I do not endorse Trump in his capacity for president of the United States. But unlike the hacks at ABC News and around the other mainstream media, he or she actually believes in the truth, believes in impartial journalism. And by the way, ABC is trying to flesh out the whistleblower right now. And there was a report earlier this week that the person was dead in a car accident, which is one of the deep state's favorite ways of doing their wet work. But he's alive. He or she, I don't know if I'm just saying he, because we don't know. This person is supposedly still alive. Now, here's where it gets good. The Harris campaign received particular accommodations, including, but not limited to, the providing of a podium significantly smaller than used by Trump and assurances regarding split-screen television views that would favorably impact Harris relative to Trump. It was agreed that Donald Trump would be subjected to fact-checking during the debate, while Harris would not face comparable scrutiny. This was widely known throughout the company that Trump would be fact-checked. In fact, various people were assigned to fact-check observations it was perceived candidate Trump would make during the debate. So basically, they had things ready to go. When Trump dropped the whole, they're eating the cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio. And by the way, the more they try and squash this, the more they tell you it's a conspiracy theory, and the more receipts are produced, the more you know it's real, ladies and gentlemen. So it was weird, wasn't it? How David Muir and Lindsay Davis, who was also a sorority sister of Kamala Harris, that's not a conflict of interest or anything. But wasn't it weird how they had their fact checks ready to go? It's they knew. Because they knew what they were going to be asking. And they knew what they were going to be assuming that Trump was going to bring up. So, this was done via multiple communications with the Harris campaign, whereas the Trump campaign was not included in the negotiations. To my understanding, any rules, negotiations, and conversations pertaining to the debate should have had both Trump and Harris campaign involved, but it wasn't. It was only Harris. And they were like, yeah, don't worry, sis. We got your back. Trump's going to be fact-checked. You're not going to be. Next one. The Harris campaign was provided with sample questions that, while not the exact questions, covered similar topics that would appear during the debate. Also, the Harris campaign was given the scope of questioning, including that no questions regarding the perceived health of Joe Biden would be asked, because obviously she helped cover that up for the last, untold number of years. The man has not been there, all there. Joe Biden's always been stupid and a political grifter, and that's all he is. Dumb. Everyone's always known as being one of the dumbest members of the Senate, but he wasn't senile up until about 5 years ago. Well, obviously, she knew about that as vice president. No inquiries would be related to her tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco. No questions concerning her brother-in-law, Tony West, who faces allegations of embezzling billions of dollars in taxpayer funds and who may be involved in her administration if elected. Now, there's another part of the affidavit. Internal organizational climate. I have observed a pronounced bias against Donald Trump within ABC News. Employees expressing favorable views towards him experience significant concerns about potential retribution. This affidavit is executed to document and provide transparency regarding issues of fairness and impartiality in the debate process and broader concerns about journalistic integrity at ABC News. Now, here's the money shot, ladies and gentlemen. People are, oh, well, this just came out after the debate. No. This person did the affidavit on the day before the debate, September 9th, 2024. This person mailed Federal Express a copy of the affidavit to himself, to Speaker Mike Johnson, and to others, just in case the guy gets suicided, just like so many others that have crossed the deep state. So no, guys, this was before the debate. This person was like, receipts. And the media is not talking about it at all, which tells you it's true. And the media, when Donald Trump says that the media is the enemy of the people, this is what he's talking about. Because in a fair world, this should end the careers and livelihoods and lives, not physical lives, but end the careers of David Muir, Lindsay Davis, and executives at ABC. Dana Walden, who happens to be the head of ABC News, just also so happens to be having a quote extraordinary friendship, end quote, with Kamala Harris. It should end Kamala Harris's career. Period. The end. It won't, because they're all in the bag for this literal and political whore. But I don't know what legs this is going to have. I'm reporting the news, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to talk about P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy. Side note about Sean Combs, people who are extremely insecure keep having to reinvent themselves, right? Change their names, whatever. Old school rappers like Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, Chuck D, LL Cool J, etc., they have never changed their monikers, but this guy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, has changed his name like 10 times. Now, Sean Combs was arrested on charges of sex trafficking, human trafficking, and racketeering. Very, very serious charges. And he was arrested in New York. He's been put in jail without bail. And a lot of people believe, and we'll probably have to get into this more next week, but a lot of people believe that Sean Combs is basically the Epstein of the rap and entertainment world. So if Epstein was the honeypot, the blackmail collector of the political, business, entertainment world, Sean Combs is that person for the rap world, the singer-songwriter world, the entertainment world also. So all of these, if this turns out to be true, yes, it's a big domino to fall. And what's the over-under on how long Sean Combs is going to make it before he's Epsteined? So lots going on in the world if you only have eyes to watch and ears to hear, ladies and gentlemen. But that is my time. But I promise I will be back next week. You have been listening to Angela's Soapbox, everybody. Until next time, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace!